Hello everyone, I'm Olivia. Welcome to my bedroom floor. So during this coronavirus lockdown, I've been able to read my Bible a lot more, which I'm loving. And recently I read a passage in James that I found really challenging but also really encouraging, and I'm going to share that with you now. So the passage is James chapter 5 verses 7 to 12, and I'm not going to read it because it's a bit too long and I want to keep this as short as possible, but I definitely recommend going away and reading it. Yeah, I love this passage as soon as I read it, and I think it's really applicable to the situation we're in at the moment, so I'm going to share some stuff with you. So James, the book of James, is obviously written by James, who was Jesus' half-brother, and he was an early leader in the church in Jerusalem, and he led the church through some really difficult circumstances and situations, including a massive famine and the following poverty, and also throughout this, the church suffered immense persecution. And in this passage, James reiterates this idea of perseverance and patience, and he uses several illustrations to do so, but one of them is of a farmer in verse 7. And he writes, "See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains." So we know that farmers have very little, if not any, control over the circumstances that determine their livelihood, things like sun and rain, and I feel like that really parallels how a lot of people are feeling at the moment. We all feel completely out of control with the situation we're living in and how the way our circumstances are set. But yet God calls us to be patient, and to do so, to encourage us to be patient, James uses the example of the prophet of Job in verse 11. He writes, "As you know, we count as blessed those who have persevered. We have heard of Job's perseverance and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy." If you're unfamiliar with the story of the prophet of Job, it's worth knowing that Job suffered a lot during his story within the Bible, and suffered a lot of pain. And throughout his story, he questions, why me? Why am I having to experience this? And those questions are so similar to the ones that I find myself asking, and I'm sure you are as well, is why is God allowing this to happen? Why is this happening at all? But James reminds us here that the Lord is full of compassion and mercy. And I'd like to encourage you with that thought today. There are so many people that have gone before us. All it takes is a quick Google search to find so many strong, powerful, faithful Christians that have used their struggle with a lack of power to encourage and inspire millions of people and teach of God's greatness. So I'm going to challenge myself, and I hope you'll join me, to practice the patience that James describes in this passage and that God calls for in a time like this. I'll be praying for you. Thank you very much for listening.